Call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Welcome everybody that's in attendance tonight. This is our first meeting of the year, of the new year. It's our organizational meeting, and I'd like to ask everybody if you would stand up for a moment of silence. And if you would, please, in your thoughts and prayers, please remember Bruce Phillips, our head mechanic at the bus garage. He lost his wife this weekend. She passed away. We'll do the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda as written.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Peridot, second by
Me.
Ashley. All those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Has anybody signed in for public comments?
No.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the selection of the board chair for the 2019 year. So I'll at this point open the floor up for nominations for chairman of the board.
Well, I'd like to nominate Gordy Peridot.
I'd like to nominate myself.
Okay. Any other nominations? Is there a motion to close the nominations at that point?
Move to close.
Motion by Mr. Peridot,
Second.
second by Mr. Heisel.
Okay. Will we have an opportunity for discussion then?
Go ahead if you want.
You were nominated first. Would you like to say
I
anything?
don't see the need for discussion, but, I mean, there's not it's just a simple vote, so we are.
Well, I would like to have some discussion. I think in trying to make my case as to be reelected as chair. I think in the last year as chair, I've been a fair and considerate chairman. I think I've acted with a calm and dignifying demeanor. I take my board service very seriously. I've never missed a board meeting. As chair, I've always been open to adding agenda items, and I will continue to act that same way in the future. As chair, spent countless hours reviewing the minutes of the meetings to make sure everything was as accurate as possible for that permanent record. I exchanged dozens of emails before meetings with our board attorney to make sure everything was compliant with the law. But quite frankly, I'm not an educator, I'm a businessman, but I think that perspective gave me a very useful perspective to act as an independent advocate for all the taxpayers. But I think the biggest attribute that I brought as chair is as an advocate for the district and my work in the Choose Clark County document, the work on the RAC card, spent countless meetings, chamber meetings, working with realtors, and we were actually at a realtors meeting the other day, and I was at a commerce advocacy meeting this morning advocating for the district. But if I'm not reelected as chair, I understand it is a political vote. I will continue to do my best to represent all the voters of Clark County, and will continue to work as a tireless advocate for the Clark County schools, and would just ask for your all's consideration. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. I guess we'll go with the first nomination of Gordon Peridot for the first one. If you would just signify by saying aye. Those in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Okay, so that motion carries. So Mr. Peridot will be the chairman of the board. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks, again, do want to welcome everybody here, and I won't be long, but welcome our new members that we have here, and I've expressed to some of you all that there's not a lot of experience on this board, and I like to call it a young board, so if I call it a young board, that means you're the oldest member, Ashley.
No.
So that's the way it
No,
goes.
Gordy, no.
But,
No.
you know, now that you know now that you've elected me or whatever, you may want to start the impeachment process.
Yes.
I don't know what we want to do on that, but it is my goal to try to streamline our meetings as much as possible. I'm not trying to take a voice away from anybody that's on this board, but I think we can move in a more efficient way than what we may have in the past. And with doing that, I have to ask each board member that if you will come to each meeting prepared to vote on every item that we have, and I think you could set up meetings with Mr. Christie for any questions that you have. And again, this is a decision-making board, and that's what we do. Come in here and make decisions, make sure you're informed when you do come in here, and I think that'll make the process. That being said, because we are young and inexperienced here, and sometimes there's going to be questions that we have to ask. And when you have those questions, be sure to ask. I spent 28 years in education, and there's things that come up every time that I don't understand what's going on. So I know those things do come about. So make sure you are informed with what you are voting on. With that being said, item 3, selection of a board vice chair. At this time, I'll open up nominations for vice chairs. And in doing so, I'd like to nominate Ms. Ashley Ritchie for vice chair.
I second that nomination.
Your first, second.
No further nominations, so someone move to close nominations.
Move to close.
Move to close, need a second. Second, we have a second there. All those in favor of Ms. Ritchie being vice chair, signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye. Looks like it's a 5-0. Item 4 is appoint board secretary. I think at this time, we always appoint our superintendents, pretty much common practice in the state of Kentucky, and at this time, I will appoint Mr. Christie as chair, and I will inform Mr. Christie, secretary, I will inform him that I do not take copious notes, so you guys better, and you've got your best wingman beside
I
you,
do.
so I have all the trust in the world in her.
So, Mr. Barrow, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Of course, we don't have our attorney with us. Does that require a vote?
No, I think it's just an appointment.
Yeah, it
So
yeah, it
always
says
have been.
appoint board
It's always
secretary.
been, I believe, an appointment, I do believe. If not, we'll come back next time and do it if that's the case right there, but I thought it was always an appointment.
I'll not turn my notes over till I'm.
Okay, we're good. Item 5 is consider approval of Alicia Ellis as the treasurer of Clark County Public Schools, board treasurer. I am in favor of Alicia doing this, and if there's no other objections, I'll take a motion for this to be approved.
Second.
I didn't really make the motion, so.
I'll make a motion for it.
You made a motion, okay, motion.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Talby, seconded by Ms.
Sure.
Ritchie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
It's 5-0, thank you. Item 6, establish a sequence of voting as we usually do. We'll go by district. If we have to do, call for a vote, I would like to do one change there, is that me as the chair, I would like to always vote last. That way, it kind of takes any pressure off anybody else thinking they're doing a deciding vote, and usually that's Ashley. Is that all right with you? Okay. I just,
You wanna take
sometimes,
my spot?
sometimes people get a little bit uncomfortable if it's 2-2 having to do that, and I just think as chair, that should fall into me. Item 7, approve monthly meeting dates, times, and locations for the board. You do have that sheet in front of you or on your computer. I'm sure everybody has that. Again, that is something, what's printed on this, I am in favor of, but if there are others here that have questions or suggestions for that at this time, I'd like to hear those.
The format that you have for the meetings is just, we did that and we went back and looked at years past and looked at, kind of went off the same schedule, so that's why we've come up with the dates. I would tell you to look at, you might want to relook at May 21st, that happens to fall on Election Day. I don't know if that's one you want to consider to move. May the 28th is closing day, currently, and that's very optimistic. There's not going to be any
It's being
snow.
very optimistic.
It's very optimistic that there'll be no snow, but right now that's closing day. The November meeting can go back to the 19th, as Thanksgiving was early last year. Thanksgiving will be on November the 28th. So we can move Thanksgiving back to the regular schedule if you
And what date
choose.
is that?
That would be on the 19th. We moved it up a week last year because it fell right on Thanksgiving, so this year it can go back if you decide to stay. Now, this is all assuming that you're going to stay on that Tuesday, and then you all can change
Okay.
that.
All right,
This was just to get you to go.
just to go through those here at this time, the May 21st, obviously, that's not an election time for us. I mean, no board member is running or whatever, and our meetings are at this time after the close of polls, which shouldn't interfere with anybody voting, but if somebody has a qualm with that, needs to do, or think we should move election, I'm all right with that, but I'm all right with keeping it, so.
I would also tell you that on May the 19th, you could put this in there. May the 19th is baccalaureate. That's when it's tentatively scheduled for right now, and it's going to be at 6 p.m. at Calvary Christian Church.
That's just a schedule thing.
Yes, that's just a schedule.
Okay. But that could change too with graduation, so.
What, May 19th?
Yeah, for baccalaureate, yeah. Graduation at 24.
Any discussions on those dates? Do we want to change the election, or are we fine with election where it's at? I mean, we can go over this, and then when somebody make a formal motion, if they want to, right there with that.
I have a question. What's the process for special meetings called?
Special meetings, chair can call a special meeting, 3 board members can call a special meeting. It just depends on what your topic, what you want to do, just state your topic and submit that to myself or to the superintendent. And we do, you know, like the draft meetings and those things, draft budget, tentative budgets. And there's always a time that something comes up, knock on wood, we haven't had expulsions or anything else like that, but there's always times that things come up during the year that we may have to get together and call a special meeting.
If we wanted to take it off of election, could we not do it the Monday before, the 20th?
Through the 20th.
I mean, just that way it covers it, just in case.
Any issues with that? I don't have a problem with changing that.
I'm okay with it still being on election day.
Okay.
One of the things I'd like for us to consider is the starting time. I know it makes.
Can we just get the dates first? Is that all right? We just go ahead and do that?
No worries.
Just to make sure, and then we'll come back and
It's all good.
do that. So the next one, Mr. Christie, that you had,
May the 28th is actually the closing day of school, but that's pretty tentative. So
but
that could
I think
change.
that by the end of February, 1st of March, if we needed to change that, we could change that at that time, and that gives the public plenty of time, because we're not bound by this schedule at all.
No.
It just kind of sets something that we know this is when we're going to be there, right? I would say that if that happens on May the 28th, that would be a real good thing, but.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that we just noted that. I'm not sure that that would have any bearing on what we would
Right.
do. You know, that's,
Right, and
maybe some principals maybe not able to be here or something.
And our next one was at the November,
The November, it was,
the 12th.
last year we moved it up to the second Tuesday because it fell, this year Thanksgiving is going to be on the 28th, which allows us to meet on the third Tuesday, the
Right.
19th. So that
Right.
changed that, so that could go back to your regular schedule if you want.
19th. So the 2 date changes that we're looking at possibly, if you agree in the vote, is changing the 21st to the 20th and the November the 12th to the 19th. And when we make our motion, somebody just needs to make
I
a
mean,
note of that.
Does everybody want to change back to the 19th? Or do you want to leave it on the 12th and do it?
Well, I just think that when you make your motion,
Right.
you make it to do that, and then if everybody's in agreement with it, fine. If not, then we'll redo a motion.
Okay.
Is that okay?
All right,
Is that
so
fine?
how do you want me to make this motion that says?
Well, let's try to do everything at once if we can, dates and times.
Yes, boss.
That's okay, if that's okay, all right. All right, times, you made,
Yes,
about
sir.
times.
I'd like to throw out for consideration whether 6:30 is the optimal time for our board and the individual members and your all's schedules. And then also for administrators and principals and everybody else involved, you know, whether if it would work for our schedules, whether it would make more sense to try to move that up. So that way, so principals aren't out as late and teachers and anybody else that might be involved. I think it's worthy of consideration. It could be, doesn't work with your all schedules and you're always out of town or Sherry or you all, and so it doesn't make sense. But I think it's at least worthy of tossing the idea about.
Speaking for myself, I'm retired, I can come anytime, so I mean, whatever the wishes of the board are.
6:30 is easier on me just because of my job.
What time are you thinking?
I was thinking 6.
6.
6:30 is easier on me. I mean, maybe 6 may work, it may not, but at 6:30 is easier.
And then you've also, if we have a special meeting ahead of that, which we do a lot, that would put it at 5:30, and then you're trying to get public to get here by 5:30.
I'm just trying to think of, a lot of times, they go kind of late and teachers get up pretty early. But if it doesn't work for you all, then it doesn't work. But at least I want to kick it out. And the other thing for consideration is a little farther out of the box is whether we should, try to venture out in the community and perhaps have a rotation of meetings during the school year at our facilities. And that's, our teachers are our number one resource, and our administrators number two, but facilities is one of the top things we have in Clark County. And to potentially take our regular meetings and move just the regular meetings out to a rotation of different schools, again, I want to throw that idea out there, and that way we'd get potentially closer to the public and perhaps show off the facilities that we have a little bit better.
Okay, well, as your senior member, I will tell you, we tried that and it was a mess. We couldn't hear anything on our end at all, so Sherry and I were completely left out of the loop. It made it hard for technology to try to move everything around. Paul, you remember, the principals were stressed out that day trying to get it ready for us.
The only way it would make sense is if it seemed like to be practical, is if they had a package together, that they could just have a briefcase and that everything would be in it, and they could just pick it up and move, because it would be kind of silly for them to have to go through hours at a time. And we'd have to have a reasonable PA system in there, so it would all be turnkey and straightforward. But you've got experience in
Yes.
trying it.
We had
and,
a terrible time with being able to hear anything on our end down here in no man's land.
Of course, I think we did it the first year that I was here, and I've done it in other districts, and you had the same logistical problems when you're there, is the microphones, the video. If all of a sudden you need something, Miss Nance, she has to bring her office with her. I know that, I remember watching her just carrying crates of stuff just to make sure she had things. So it is difficult. I do think that there may be times that if we had a special meeting called or something that had something to do, maybe possibly with that school more so than something else, that may be a good idea to possibly have a special meeting there. But as far as our regular meetings, I think central office is probably our best bet.
Well, since, we have to discuss everything in open session to really get anything done, you never know till you try, so I wanted to bring those ideas up, or at least,
It was a good,
For consideration.
it was a good idea the first time we tried it too, until we got there and was like, no.
okay?
Okay, at this time, we'll consider a motion on our board meeting dates, times, and locations. If anyone wants to make a motion with the changes that we've made, and the changes that we made were May 21st to May 20th, and November the 12th changed to November the 19th. All other information on this sheet remain the same, so if anybody wants to make a motion as to that, I'll accept it this time.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the schedule as is with changes to May 19th to May 20th,
May 21st, May 20th.
May 21st to May 20th, and change the November date to the 19th.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. 5-0. Oh, item number 8, all of that, I'm not going to go over that and read that with you. That's information just to help you as a board member. I would just ask you to read over those things. I'm not going to sit here and bore you by reading those again. There's nothing on there to accept or deny in there. There are some information stuff in there that Ms. Nance does need, but there's nothing in there to change, and the item itself does not have an approval or before I turned down on that one. So just be sure to read over those. Some really good information in there that I think can help you with being a board member.
Mr. Beardo, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
On the Board of Education operating protocol, there's a signature section. Is that something that would be
I have it right here that I'm gonna pass down.
So if we felt that any wording needed to be tweaked on that before signing, is that something that we should discuss?
I would think that if there's something on there you're uncomfortable with, either mark it out and sign it or don't sign it. That would be what I'd say, because I don't think this is not a time that we would move on something like that. So that's the way I would suggest every board member. It's not a binding document for anything. I think it's just a cordial agreement among board colleagues that this is what we're going to strive for. So if there is something on there that you don't want, feel free to strike it out or feel free not to sign it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I will add that this is the same document. I've been here.
Yeah, I've seen it every year.
Yeah, it's been.
It's good information on it.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
really good information on it.
I'll pass that down for you you have a copy of the protocols, but there is a signature sheet that I'll ask everybody to sign or.
Okay. And there are several documents that I know that Ms. Nance needs before we leave. Item number 9, consider approval of board member superintendent to attend the KSBA annual conference at the Galt House Hotel in Louisville, Kentucky, February 22nd through the 24th, 2019. I wouldn't expect any opposition to that, but if anybody has a comment, I'm open for it right now. Otherwise, I'll take somebody who wants to make a motion to
I'll make
approve
that
it.
motion as written.
Motion.
Seconded.
Second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. 5-0, thank you. Item number 10, consider approval process of hiring new board attorney. Obviously, with Mr. Elkins resigning, we do need to find a new board attorney. I think all of the applications have been put in mailboxes, and I'm sure everybody has picked those up by now. My idea of what we would do from right here is that we would meet we have a regular meeting next Tuesday, that we would review those in closed session and decide there whether if we want to go through an interview process or if we're ready to hire or what we need to do at that time. But other board members, what are your all suggestions for this?
It makes me nervous not having one for the regular meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, do we need one for the regular meeting?
Well, we have, and I just tell this from my experience, and Mr. Christie can jump in too, is that many districts that we're at, board attorneys don't attend every meeting. Now, we've always been in a situation where we always have, and there's nothing wrong with that or whatever. It is important, I think, that they are there for, contractual things, to approve those type of things, and just to make sure, I guess, that we're not venturing out into something that we shouldn't be. But, that's entirely up to everybody on the board. If you want to speed that process up, obviously, we would have to have a special call meeting to be able to do that. Myself, I'm comfortable with waiting until next week, but that's just me. And again, I don't want to force anything on anybody. Everybody has that right to speak up, and if you want to change that process, that's fine.
I'm fine with calling a special meeting, just myself, and starting the process.
It probably would be best, but I think the challenge is whether we could get, well, let me break it up. Your thought was to simply review the materials and decide from there, and then another alternative would be to do what we did last time, which is actually have folks come in and have them make a presentation, be able to ask them questions. That would be another alternative.
Well,
to that.
the process would be whether we want to just look at what we have there and decide, do we want to interview from there? How many do we want to interview? Those things. So if we had a special meeting, let's say we call a special meeting for, I guess what, we gotta give 24 hours, it could probably be Friday to Monday before we could have one, correct?
Yes.
What's the earliest we could have a special meeting?
What is today, Tuesday? You could have one Thursday. Would
I
be
mean,
the
can you-
Soonest it would have to go in the paper in the morning, and it would be advertised for 24 hours, so after 10 o'clock Thursday, you could.
I mean, can it be declared an emergency and done
It can.
faster?
It
I mean,
can.
I don't know if you can, I'm not sure on
I
the
can-
laws whether that could be declared an emergency.
I'd have to check, I'd like to check with with my KSBA.
You don't have an attorney.
I talked to an attorney about
to
that.
do that right there.
About the special, but about the emergency clause.
I mean, no, I guess,
You can't
you know-
call one without a 24-hour notice as long as you post it as quickly as you can.
Right. We could, you know, I mean, if we call a special meeting, we may decide in that special meeting that we want to have interviews, and if we want to have interviews,
If you want to declare it as an emergency, it can be posted tonight, and you can meet this time tomorrow night. And we could notify the paper, but it wouldn't be advertised. You can, if you want to wait to notify the paper, it would go in 10 tomorrow, and it wouldn't come out till the next day.
Okay, wait a minute, wait. Are we gonna decide on whether we're interviewing or first in the process part of it?
well, the process is to review applications. That's, you know,
We've done that part of the process, so now.
well, no, we haven't done that, because we haven't done that in a closed session. I mean, there has to be discussion
Okay,
between board
that's my
members and
question.
that. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, there has to be discussion in there between board members, and then I think, you know, I've done many interviews, like some of you others that are in business have done many interviews, and sometimes you get things and you're ready to act on it. Sometimes you get things, you know, I'd like to see more. And those are the things that I don't know from this board, and we have to have a meeting to talk to each other to figure out whether or not that's what we need to do. So, but if it's the will of the board to declare this an emergency and to have the meeting tomorrow, we can do that according to Mr. Christie.
So one of the point that would turn on is whether we think we need to have interviews with that process, or whether the next step in the process
would,
is simply to talk and then
Correct.
see where it goes
I mean,
to
it
from there.
could, you know, it could be a meeting that we talk and get,
I got
all we
you.
get done is that we're gonna interview, and it still will go past the first meeting, or it could possibly be done before, because if we're gonna interview, you're not giving a lot of time for people to set up
Yeah, that
times
would
to
be
do
my
it there. So, I
practical
mean,
concern.
those are the concerns I have. I mean, this all fell pretty quick right here with everybody, but, you know, whatever the wishes of the board, I'm fine with it anyway. I mean, I'm comfortable going into the first one, and I say that right there. Sometimes I'm sure a lot of people went into court thinking they were comfortable with an attorney, but I don't know. We'll see. But, you know, whatever the board's wish, I'm fine any way that you want to do it. I'm available for every night this week. I'm available for Monday. So if the board wants to take a shot at that, I'm good at that.
I would like Thursday would be a better day. It gives people a little bit more time, a little more notice.
We can get on the online advertising in that next time too, which is.
Because basically, it's just going to be a special meeting, then a closed meeting.
Yes.
And I mean,
Come in, open up, and then go in closed session.
we come in
back
open,
out.
I'm going to close and come back into open. I mean, anybody's, you know, can come to those meetings, but they have to leave during the closed session part of it there.
But then if you do the interviews that day, you gotta do those back in open, right?
Yeah.
Well, but we wouldn't, I mean, we've got to discuss first before we
So
can
you
ask
don't
people
wanna
to
do
interview,
interviews.
so. I mean, I'm not saying I don't want to do
I know what you're
interviews.
saying, but you don't wanna do them on Thursday. You're saying go in, discuss, and
Yeah,
then.
because I think we have to discuss the applicants first before we can decide on whether we're interviewing or what we're doing with that.
So we're gonna need 2 meetings, maybe,
Maybe not.
possibly.
There's a possibility you could have 2 meetings, or a possibility we have to wait a week or 2 for interviews, and it could be, you know, it could be done by the end of this week, it could be done by the end of this month. I mean, that's just the process of it. But you have to decide first, what do you want to do? So, and I'm telling you now, I'm open, I'm fine, any way we want to do it. So just, you guys, speak up, tell me what you want to do.
I'll make a motion that we have a special meeting on Thursday, 6:30, to discuss the board attorney.
I'll be out of town.
What works
Like I said, you know.
what works for you, Sherry?
Tomorrow.
Can we do the online advertising? We can still get it on, we can do a public advertising,
What do we have to do as a board to declare emergency meeting?
declare an emergency that we.
I mean, do we need to do that in the motion,
Yes,
declare that,
declare an
make a motion to
emergency,
declare?
and that we need to have a special call meeting in the next 24 hours, that we will advertise at the local site, and we will advertise on their website too. We'll get the word out publicly as we can.
Mr. Talby, you want to take that on as far as the motion with that?
Well, He was on Thursday, can you do Wednesday?
I thought he was gonna do Wednesday. I didn't want to take the motion away from him.
I'll make a motion that we declare an emergency session for tomorrow, for Wednesday,
6:30
6:30 here, to be located here.
for the
For the
purpose.
purpose of, evaluate the applicants of, board attorney.
Should we put purpose of evaluate and
And-
possible action?
Yes, that leaves your most options.
Okay.
Could you read that back to us, Ms. Nance, just to make sure we're,
Mr. Tolby made a motion to declare an emergency session for January the 9th at 6:30 PM for the purpose of evaluation and action, and/or action.
do we have a second?
I second.
A second,
Motion.
Ms. Richardson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Hey,
One opposed. All right, Ms. Ashley, are you going to take over adjournment from
Oh, are we
this
there?
point on?
Sorry, I was still reading the other stuff. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
second?
Second by Mr. Heisman. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. That's one down, guys. Good job.
Just so y'all know I do adjourn, so don't try to court in on my adjournment.